2001.
Kondo to huske at jeg
When I came here, it was definitely not to run away from anything. It was to experience new things. And I thought that would be good for a year. So that is Upper China, Chinatown. Yeah, maybe it's because we're digging so deep and say, are you digging all the way down to China? In this area, you find quite a lot of cultural midden. If you dig down here, it has no historical value. It was just bones from whales and smoking pipes from 1800s, 1700s. This plant that we have here is a kwon, and it's very rich in vitamins. It was eaten and brought along for. It's not delicate, so to say, but it's if the choice is getting sick. It's called Angelica. Angelica. I bought this house in '75. Down here is a room. That room is actually an entire house where 6 grown-up people lived. Must be an old house, or maybe especially poor, because it has no basement. But this has been simply dirt floor, clay on the floor. You see, it's not a square. This is a little thing going into our present house. What they say is that it was maybe a little shed for one cow to the family next door, just half a meter away. That's how it was in '65, and the yellow houses are still here, but these houses have been taken away or rebuilt, the grey houses. And we are here. And I didn't know the society, but when I came here, it was kind of revelation. It had kind of everything. It's a small nation full of people from many places, actually, much more international than you think from outside. So I didn't stay only 1 year. I've been here 40 years now. I was 27 when I moved here. My job as a teacher includes making school bands. The first day I come to the school, I put up a poster, who wants to play folk, who wants to play jazz. And the folk band was immediately working because there were some musicians in the school. And so, tick, 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 we had a band. We could get everywhere with boat up to the 60s. The road system came late. It was different because I used to have a piano with me. Well, I always had a piano with me, a little smaller than this, in the car. And this car, when we go to Suðuroy, Sandoy, with the piano in it, had to get on the boat and off the boat. But so what? That was advanced technology compared to the 50s. Of course, you can romanticize on the old days and say that the life was maybe more family-like. But on the other hand, I doubt that the villages would have survived. It is still a struggle, but have survived without more connection. In the 70s, I think, and 60s, they worked very hard on making it possible to live at all the places. And it's not finished. The first tunnels, of course, they were just one track, and they are still there in Suðuroy and in the north. And nowadays, they seem very small. But it made a tremendous difference that you could drive in an hour or half an hour instead of having to sail, and you were not always certain to be able to sail because of the weather conditions. So that was a continuous change, I think, from the Second World War time.
Det har varit en fantastisk utveckling på Färöarna, alltså i min levetid. Alltså alla de här vägar vi har fått och tunneler och broar, det är helt fantastiskt alltså. Hvis vi går 100 år tilbake, eller 120-30 40 år tilbake, så blev det sån en nationalitetsväckelse på Färöarna, alltså som man kan säga att industrirevolution på en måte som har utvecklat sig upp igenom hela 1900-talet och blev extra stark efter andra världskrig och då det kommer upp i 60-åren med det blir stor framgång ekonomiskt. Det är nog med vår nationalitetsfølelse att göra.
And that was a change in the 60s. There came these big trawlers not needing many people. But it needs a lot of people on land. And the fish factories that grew up, those villages that had and still have, some of them, well-working factories, they can support a whole society of 200, 300, 400 people.
Speaking about our country, Faroe Island, it's a fishery nation. And we have a big fleet in the North Atlantic. Just like the big Russia, they also have a lot of ships up in Murmansk and so on. And one of the first countries we were doing fishery agreements with, that was with the old Soviet Union back in 1977. And as I am aware, we were the first country who were doing a fishery agreement with the Soviet Union. It was a totally different time, totally different political systems, and more left-wing politics. And I was not in politics, of course, at that time, so I cannot tell from the period. But it was a time where you had not that strong tools to regulate the democracy. The politicians were deciding actually everything, more also down to the levels of treating fishery rights and all these licenses and so on.
Atle Dam was a great part of the social democrat kind of society of the Nordic countries. I think he was a real idealist and he was also one of the forces that had fish factories laid out in the country and not only in one or two major villages. So actually it may have been too optimistic.
Det skete någonting som hade stor betydning för Färöarna. Man övertog flera områden från Danmark och man utvecklade samfundet på många måter. Alltså. Det var en uppgångstid helt från den tid och helt upp till sist i 80-åren då den här krisen kom med att det var faktiskt blev för mycket alltså med investeringar i skip och drömmen om olika ting så.
The fishing industry in the 60s and 70s was growing and growing. Then it grew too far. It got overheated. Just to put up a factory is not enough. The one in Nolsoy couldn't get fish enough, so it had to close down. And after the breakdown, half the population of that little village emigrated.
Det var så många, alltså det var så många som gick konkurs, alltså allt alltså. Deras hus som måste dra bort och till Danmark.
Every strike of a hammer is a strike against the enemy.
Is that a Prussian or is it a capitalist? Or both? Since the latest big crash, which was, as say, a result of Atledam, not the result of Atledam, but of the overheating and that, a lot of people moved away, and then in the late 90s there was a strong movement to rebuild the Faroe Islands. A lot of the politics that were decided in Denmark before are now decided in the Faroe Islands, and there's been a steady movement towards independence since the late 90s. I lived in this small village just in Nolsoy on the island there, just around that time, and everyone was unemployed there. There was no money going around. A lot of Faroese food was eaten, and you know, the fishermen were going out and fishing their own fish, and people rarely bought anything else than milk and bread in the shops. You know, there was no shop that you could buy anything else. What helped a lot was there was a new sense of nationality. People were mad also of the terms that the banks got from Denmark. Big scandal. We actually, you know, even though Denmark bailed us out, we had to pay almost double back. So we were left with both the poverty and the bill for it, you know. And people were very mad at that. And they started saying, but how can we do it better on our own? How can we build this country to make it viable on its own and not be dependent of someone who might screw us over, you know?
We are in the Danish kingdom, and we are working very good together, of course. But when we are speaking about the trade agreements and fishery agreements, we are not a member of EU. Denmark is a member of EU. That means that when we are doing new fishery agreements, then I'm calling Russia directly, and Denmark is going down to Brussels. Compared to Greenland, we are less dependent because we are receiving now 600 million Danish kroner, and Greenland is receiving today something like 4,000 million Danish kroner. The biggest difference between Faroe Island and Iceland, I think that is the currency. Iceland had their own currency, and we are connected to Danish kroner in value and also to the euro. So that means that we are not having a fluctuating currency. And we have also been blessed with the nature resources through all the crises, with fish, a lot of fish. And our resources around Faroe Island is approximately 500,000 tons of fish. So Faroe Island is a small country, but with very big resources. And salmon farming is a big one also. We are exporting a lot of salmon to the United States today. All the sushi restaurants in the United States are having Faroese salmon on their table. That's because the environment here around the Faroe Island with the Gulf current is the ideal seawater to produce, to farm. Russia market is a growing market for us with good quality salmon and also good quality pelagic fish, the blue whiting, mackerel, herring. 2 years ago, I had a very good meeting with Mr. Lauro in New York. And that was the beginning step that we are claiming for a free trade agreement. And we have been very much in the EU markets, in the States. We need to come into the Russian markets stronger because we have something to offer. And of course, our good relations with Russia for all these years. Also, Russians have been here. All the fishermen, all the fishing vessels who have been in Faroe Island, taking oil and food and so on. So I think we have a very good connection, practical, with Russian people. They have always been welcome here, and we feel us certainly much welcome in Russia.
In the Faroe Islands, you can say, we don't just have left and right, but we have also, union with Denmark and independence. So often you have a mixed government. My party, which is the People's Party, which is an independence party too, we have often worked together with the Republicans on the left side. So you can have a right side party together with the left side party, but their main goal is to get more independence, I think it has a lot to do with to be proud to manage on your own. So you're not getting money from other countries.
Very often, the separatist movement is seen as cutting ourselves off from the rest of the world, but basically it's cutting us off from only being in relation with Denmark, because almost all trade and travel is through Denmark. Yeah. We're closer neighbors to Scotland and
we are just as close to London as we are to Copenhagen. There are 3 flights daily to Copenhagen, and there's 1 flight weekly only during the summer to London. And I see London as a bit bigger hub to the world than Copenhagen.
No. Copenhagen is the center of the universe. You know, separatism from Denmark doesn't have anything to do with Denmark. It has everything to do with ourselves. And we have the natural resources, we have the people, we have the knowledge. I think we can only benefit from it because we're still getting over the post-colonial mentality. Generations before us, we've been taught that we need somebody else to make decisions for us.
Christianity is much more rooted in the Faroese more than in the other Scandinavian countries. So that's why we have another abortion law, a law for abortion in the Faroe Islands, more conservative. And also when it comes to homosexual, we are more conservative than the other countries around us.
I think Faroe Island, we have one of the highest birth rates in Europe, actually. 2.4, 2.5. I don't know if it's only about the dark winters and so on, but hopefully we will keep that birth rate on a high level. We have the lowest rate in the world when it's coming to how many people are in jail compared to every 100,000 inhabitants. So we are, as I'm usually saying, that I am as a Prime Minister in Faroe Island, I could sleep at night with my doors open. If you are a part of my family here in Faroe Island and you would go out to get some alcohol drinking and so on, the family will also help that get you on the right track again. So there are very strong family relation structures who are helping that we have a low rate of criminal.
There is crime and there are people that are very poor and that are struggling in the society everywhere.
And
it's not that picture perfect as you.
No, it's and especially I mean the government that has been empowered the last few years, they are putting laws and tax reforms that are making the cliff bigger between poor and rich.
You know, we can say a bunch of bad stuff about it, but it's a very open and accessible society. You can drink coffee with the Prime Minister on a normal Thursday without any bodyguards. You know, our kids go to the same school as their kids, so it's all about us and how we can develop if we fuck up, then it's our problem and not somebody else's.